Shalom Dammit! This is Rabbi Sol Solomon with a Rabbinical reflection for the week of April 19th, 2015. Well, the presidential race for 2016 officially began this week when Hillary Clinton threw her hat into the ring as the presumptive Democratic nominee. Her decision to run came as a shock to an order of Trappist monks in Burkina Faso, but pretty much everyone else in the universe was expecting this, 7.5 years ago. And why not? For all the negative publicity and setbacks, the past 6 years of Obama America has been moderately successful, spectacularly successful if you compare them to the previous 8 years under Shrub. The economy slowly turned around, real estate is up, gas prices are down, we managed the wars that W started, gay marriage and legal pot became the norm, and, astonishingly, the empire did not collapse. People who couldn't afford health care still can't afford health care, but now they have to have it. We're making nice with Cuba, and we turned Bin Laden into fish food. Not perfect, but not bad, considering Obama inherited a country that was so rotten it could have been a Rennie Harlan movie. Through it all, Hillary Clinton took her lumps in 2000 and bided her time, visiting 1 million countries between then and now in order to keep us out of new wars and, let's face it, to avoid spending quality time at home with her husband. The GOP is going to hammer Hillary over Benghazi and ISIS and her seeming inability to answer a direct question. But half the Republican candidates won't answer a direct question either, because they can barely speak English. I kid. But look at what the red states are throwing at the next election. Jeb Bush. Do we really want to hear that last name connected with the White House ever again? Sure, comparing Jeb to his brother W is like comparing Steven Spielberg to the guy who directed Gummo. But Jeb's intelligence is a danger in itself. Let's not forget who was governor when Florida hijacked the presidency from Al Gore 15 years ago. In case you forgot, it was Jeb Bush. And while he's pro-education and more sensible than most in his party about immigration, he'd decimate social services and be so right-wing on abortion, he'd make jacking off illegal because you're killing a bajillion potential human beings in spermatozoic form. Then you've got Ted Cruz. He looks like Joseph McCarthy, sounds like Rick Santorum, and comes off like a Sunday preacher on acid. Gotta love him for being pro-Israel. But no federal money for Hurricane Sandy? No leeway on gun control, no compassion for unwed mothers, no comprehension of global warming, no remorse for shutting down the government in 2012, no admitting that he can't even run for president because he was born in Canada. Actually, he can, because his mom's American, but why isn't he up north shooting moose and ordering Terrence and Phillip to get a haircut? Then you've got Marco Rubio, who makes one crowd-pleasing speech, and suddenly he thinks he can run the free world. Remember how that hot speech thing worked out for Sarah Palin? Anyway, he's Latino, and he's got charisma. Good for him. I like Desi Arnaz, but I wouldn't have voted for him. Rubio is anti-same-sex marriage and has so little experience in foreign policy, he makes 2008 Barack Obama look like Henry Kissinger, including the glasses. Worst of all, Marco was mentored by none other than Jeb Bush, the guy he'll run against in the primaries. Who says there's no loyalty in politics? I do. I say there's no loyalty in politics. Also in the hunt, Rand Paul. He's so right-wing, he makes the Koch brothers look like Emma Goldman. Paul is another one of those religious fundamentalists who thinks conception begins in the nutsack, and he is the epitome of the Republican who believes the way to govern is to block anything and everything the Democrats want to do. If Obama says walruses have tusks, Rand Paul will filibuster to make sure they're called long teeth instead. Other rambunctious Republicans who might give Jeb a jolt include Chris Christie, who was desperate enough to accept a Democratic handout, but arrogant enough to clog up the George Washington Bridge. Rick Perry, who is currently under indictment, hates gays, hates abortion, and worst of all, comes from Texas. Scott Walker comes from Wisconsin, for which he deserves sympathy. And I hear he's very much an advocate of 2-year colleges, by which I mean he's cut so much funding from state universities they won't be able to afford 4 years of teachers. And did I mention Donald Trump was running again? Just take a moment to process that. Donald Trump, who went bankrupt 3 times and yet brags himself a financial genius. He does have a magnificent knack for self-promotion, but he spends money he doesn't have like it's going out of style. So why isn't he running as a Democrat? It's going to be an interesting year and a half. Night after night of Rachel Maddow shilling for Hill and Sean Hannity sugarcoating anything the Republican Party scrapes off his shoe and smears on a ballot. My parishioners tell me, Rabbi, you bitch and bitch and bitch, but don't offer an alternative. Why don't you run for president? You're so smart. The answer is, I'm smart enough to know my limitations. If I were president, the first thing I'd do is declare war on every country threatening Israel. The second is to make it illegal to use the New Testament as anything more than literature or a doorstop. And the third would be to make pastrami a mandatory part of all school lunches. As for immigration, look, my wife and I have 21 and a half children. Where the hell are we supposed to get nannies for less than $6 an hour if we send back all the illegals? Global warming? Half my relatives live in Florida, and their skins are like Komodo dragons from the sunshine. For the sake of the Jews, let's at least get some umbrellas down there and maybe a few ice makers. Quality of life crime like graffiti or noise pollution, a simple and effective plan. First offense, 25 hours of community service. Second offense, death penalty. As you can see, I am not meant to be the leader of the free world, 'cause I'm a schmuck. I'm saving you the trouble. I'm telling you, I'm a schmuck. The hard part is keeping some other schmuck from becoming president. For 227 years, we have failed at this almost uninterruptedly. I wouldn't hold out much hope for the next 4. This has been a rabbinical reflection from Rabbi Sol Solomon, Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York.